Welcome to the podcast, Inside the Broken Family. A place where we gather. The heck is that noise?
I don't know.
That's the washing
machine.
Okay, a place that we gather to share our stories, poems, or reflections on life. And we are happy that you have joined us and have become a part of this broken something. How was everybody's week?
Ours was good. We went to Oregon.
What'd you do in Oregon?
We visited Dad's mom, and his dad's been put in a nursing home. Or not a nursing home. It was actually a very nice home with just 5 patients. And then they have another home there that's right next to it that has 5 other patients.
Is it memory care?
Yes. Memory care. Yeah. I guess he was pretty bummed after we left because he wanted to go home. So then they had people kind of stay away for a little bit longer to get him to be used to not having, the memory.
Let their mind settle into this is their home.
Uh-huh. And he did pretty good. Like he told us his room and it was nice. It was actually out to a back deck with a yard. He would probably tumble down those stairs though if he got himself out that deck. But I thought it was very clean, very nice home. And funny enough, Grandma, when they were looking for houses when they sold the farm, or when they had to sell the farm, that was one of the houses they actually looked at. The house that Grandpa's in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She said it was a little bit different. It didn't have, they added like a room or something to it. But that would not have fit because it didn't have much land. Wouldn't have been. It was in a good, like a nice location looking out the front. Because the lot across the street was very pretty with lots of trees. But otherwise there's like houses stuffed right kind of next to it. And you're probably paying $700,000-$800,000 for these houses in Oregon. But it was good. I think Grandma enjoyed us being there. I think.
Mm-hmm. And Kim too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we saw his brother and family, and it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
And we made it through slush today.
It was a messy driving day.
It was. We actually had freezing rain while we were in Oregon.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a strange phenomenon.
It is. It is because you literally just would ice skate outside on everywhere.
It doesn't happen very often, but the climate is right and the humidity and temperature is right, then you can have freezing rain in the gorge, in the Columbia River Gorge and Portland.
And that's dangerous. In fact, if I'm correct, I think they had like 100 car pileup in the gorge the day after we came. The day it snowed, and then the next day it did freezing rain at night.
41 years ago, on our honeymoon, on our wedding reception. On our wedding reception, there was freezing rain in Portland, and Ollie couldn't make it.
No, not on our. There was supposed to be freezing rain on the day of the reception, but there ended up people still came. It seemed to be okay, but on Christmas, like the night before, we had freezing rain, so I didn't get to go see my mom and dad. And every time Grandpa Allen would ask me, well, how you doing? I would just cry. And because I really wanted to go be with my mom and dad. They didn't have anybody with them for Christmas, and so we would have been able to spend Christmas with them. And anyways, so I remember that was tender, and I called my mom and told her we couldn't come, and I was crying. She's like, oh, are you not happy? Are you okay? Is everything okay with the wedding? I'm like, oh, everything's fine. But yeah, I was tender to not be with my parents. But every once in a while you do get freezing rain there, and you don't go places.
I've done more shoveling this week than all winter.
Yeah.
That was nice.
In 1 week of February.
1 week of February.
In fact, have we shoveled this year?
We have not.
No, I have not.
I did a little bit.
Okay, but is this the first time you shoveled in this year? That's kind of crazy if you think about it, right?
For Cache Valley,
Peyton's falling asleep.
we better get going
on this podcast. We've now bored Peyton.
Peyton's our test subject. We know we need to move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this thing. I'm going to start. This is called Keeping Up Appearances. Keeping up appearances, is it all that matters? For some, it seems so. Like a treasure promised to be found underground, a treasure always moving, a treasure never satisfying. Just the constant promise of social riches. Everyone is noticing me. My grass is greener too. Water is like gold. It does not matter to my soul, as long as they notice the veridity of my yard. Add a crown of bleached pickets, surely they will bow at my regal nobility. Everyone will believe of me when I purchase the unpigmented cloud-like loaf. They will know that I swim like Scrooge McDuck. My diamond-studded clothes are never covered with the flour dust of the dirty factories. They will move for me like the Red Sea did for Moses, my sparkling chariot causing all to stop and bow in reverence, never lifting a finger in removing the dirt of the earth off my fancy ride. My appearance is my ticket to the assurance that I live. My subjects will perform their duty, noticing my importance, seeing my worth, being moved by my presence. Without them, I am thrust into darkness alone. Blind without their eyes, my appearance is everything, for without it, I simply disappear.
There's a huge culture here in America of having to show off for everybody else. And it's like started from, I think, the moment you hit any schooling in America, there's this...
Oh, that's a good point.
There's this image of one day you're going to have your own house, you're going to have your own car, you're going to have your own lawn, you're going to have your own family. And it's all about, like, what can I build for myself? It's just, it's interesting how deep that's woven into us.
Well, to Jeff's thoughts, if I picked up what he was kind of saying, is that, when I get this, I will have this recognition. When I do, when my picket fence is beautifully white, when my grass is green, when my yard looks sparkly and perfect, everybody will acknowledge me. When I am able to get the best car, get the best house, whatever it is, that will be when I'm important. And isn't it interesting that sometimes we miss out on so much racing to get the best thing, or trying to maybe spend too much time in school that you don't see your family grow, or whatever it is to get the best job, you think.
Yeah.
When people create businesses and never even barely finished high school, or they go to just a trade school, which is wonderful, and they don't have to spend as much time in school, and they make very good money for their family, or whatever it is that we think we must achieve to bring us happiness. I don't know. That kind of got mixed up, but...
At the end, you ended it with, I'll disappear if I don't keep up this performance for everybody. And it's so, like, you have a family, you have a wife, you have kids, and a lot of people with a family would rather be socially accepted than just accepted by the people they're actually with.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
Is there something to be said about that with the human nature of envy, of being envious of our neighbor or of another person in what that we perceive they have, and thinking that we need to have that also. We need to have that same thing to be successful or to be looked at as being successful.
Do you think that that's human nature or an instilled behavior?
It's a good question.
Good question.
I don't know. I think there's certain cultures that have kind of a beautiful way of looking at things, and maybe better than we do, because there's a lot of cultures they'll live together and help each other, and a lot of cultures have the older people come, and the older folks, grandma and grandpa, come, and they'll take and help raise the kids or be with the grandkids, and then they'll take care of their parents when they get older. They don't kick them out.
Yeah.
There's something to be said to, maybe in this culture we tend to be more selfish sometimes, I think, in attaining goals or things that we think we have to have. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it was interesting. Grandma and I were talking about this just the other day when there was freezing rain outside. I think you were writing. And she said, "Isn't it nice we're warm?" And I said, "How lucky are we that we're in a house that we're warm?" And I said, "Boy, are we spoiled. We have running water." We start talking about all the things that we have,
And then I think about the man or woman that's walking down the street with barely anything on or bundled up, and that's all they have.
Yeah.
And they're homeless.
Maybe they're choosing that though.
Some people might be.
But the
contrast is huge.
contrast is, yeah.
But sometimes homelessness is by choice. Sometimes it's by circumstance. And sadly, that would be terribly sad by circumstance, right? But some people don't have family or people around to help.
How many tent cities did we see on the freeway in Portland?
Oh, and they're just stuck up on literally like the freeway
Against
goes
the
up
fence
against
of the freeway.
fence, and it like goes up like a hill, and they're like sleeping on a hill, like they would sleep like this.
Yeah, and it's
Just crazy
snow
to me.
Do you
and
think
ice.
their outward appearance makes them kind of invisible to most of
Yes,
society?
because we look away.
Do you think within those little islands of people, are there some keeping up appearances within that
Absolutely.
social structure?
Because there's
Probably.
some that are happy. I mean,
Probably.
find peace in probably being around or having somebody by them. Somebody might feel loved by that, even though we just assume we don't know what they're feeling. I think some of the saddest things we saw this time was blackened faces.
Just
dirty, so dirty, pulling there,
They
and
hadn't
cold.
clean themselves for who knows how long.
Yeah, it just took me. It
And
was so sad.
those tarped cities were tarped around shopping carts from Safeway.
Yeah,
And-
or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever.
But there wasn't. I mean, they must have come and got, because it was cold, so they must have come and bust people somewhere, because there was all those structures, but not so many people around. There was a few we saw, but
We don't know what was under those tarps.
Yeah, we don't know. They could have been laying there. So
You used the word viridity. Would you define that?
It's like it's not like it's a vibrant green.
Okay.
viridity is a vibrant green.
Vert or verde is green.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So specifically talking about, it's usually used to speak about someone's grass.
Very good. Good word.
Right.
Let's start.
this idea for you?
I don't remember actually. I had a tough mindset week this week, and writing wasn't really flowing for me. So I was just going through the writing ideas I've written down personally, and this one jumped out at me. I don't remember why I wrote it down, but I'll have moments where ideas will spark and I write them down.
You know what? When you were reading that, there was a part that made me think about how many times I freaked out because somebody came to the door and I was so embarrassed that they wanted to come in. My kitchen wasn't clean or something wasn't done, and they would see my imperfectness, and I was embarrassed of that.
But don't you still have those moments now?
Oh.
Like today?
When we were
Like-
supposed to have a guest.
Like now?
Yes, I
Yeah.
wanted to hurry and make sure we came home. And
We
cleaned the
talked
house.
about it half the way home.
That's
About
so
making sure the bathroom was clean and the room was clean and everything was appropriate for the guest that was coming. Yeah.
I don't think there's any flaw in that. I do wonder if it's a behavior that's instilled in us or it's human nature.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look back, do you think that people on the prairie really cared about when somebody came by if their house was clean?
Maybe.
Because I'm guessing they didn't see people very often.
Not very
Like
often.
sometimes.
Maybe
But
that would increase the need to show off
But if you had
some life they built for themselves.
if you had a little place, their places weren't huge, probably.
One room cabins.
A lot of times, or they had some rooms upstairs, or they had, but I bet you every day they swept. I bet you because you didn't want the dirt to stay in you wouldn't want that dirt in there. So I'm
Well,
guaranteeing.
you wouldn't want it.
No,
You have
but
no idea their mindset.
well, maybe some wanted dirt, but I wouldn't think
And
they want dirt.
maybe just the social
Yeah, that's true.
the social showing off was different. So maybe you didn't care as much about your house, but you were more than willing to go show the acre that you've cleared and plowed and planted,
Or
and,
your animal,
Or what kind of
or
food
your
you put on the table
horse,
or
yeah,
or
what
your
kind of-
loaf
or your
of bread
garden.
you made, or pie.
And
Yeah.
as you go back, you still have like styles of clothing.
Yep.
People didn't just wear what they wanted all of the time.
So with Grandma, she's hooked on Wind Calls the Heart, and it's a little Hallmark show. It's got like 7 seasons or something, or maybe more. Anyway, so we sat and watched, I think, the 4th season with her, and their the dresses are just darling what they wore. But I thought, oh by golly, by the time you got on whatever you put underneath, and you button on your skirt or your dress, and then you wear
and the clothing wasn't light.
no, and then they had things over like
When we lived in the South, we talked about that often. How did people
in those dresses.
in the 1800s
Yeah,
live in literally 100% humidity, and you're just I don't know how
They had those big hoop skirts.
yes.
And, bloomers. They had
maybe
bloomers
that's where
underneath that were.
maybe that's where some of the spaghetti, the thinner straps came from.
started.
The dresses
Probably.
to make them cooler.
Maybe cool.
Maybe eventually getting shorter dresses or taking away the petticoats. Maybe it came from some of those hotter places.
Practical things.
Yeah, and then it became a trend, because all my life I grew up in California, and and then here in Utah, and I didn't have to worry about humidity and different things. We had hot days, but nothing like the South. I can't imagine that.
Right, Ollie?
That was an Augie laugh.
That's where it gets it from. Gonna have to keep an eye
Yeah, I will.
on that one. Okay. Alright, well, I struggled figuring out something to write. So, you get what you get.
It's usually pretty cute.
Who are you? When you look in the mirror, who do you see? Do you see beauty in someone who is free? Free to be someone that lives moment to moment? Or do you see a person you view as an opponent? Are you seeing someone who looks back with grace for all the experiences you have had to face? Do you look in those eyes and find a person who has a strong spirit body and mind? Or do you look and see tired eyes that are lost and lonely because of the critical seeds that have been given only? When you look at the reflection shared back at you, what characteristics come to mind? Pause and name a few. Are those words helping you become your best self? Or would they better serve you put on a shelf? What words could you speak to yourself right now that would fill your soul and maybe lift an eyebrow? When you look and see yourself right in front of you, are you there to support with a loving view? Or are you quick to look away from that face, afraid what you might find in that space? I challenge you to look in the mirror soon, really see yourself, look into those eyes and commune. Be there in that moment for you to see. Loving yourself might just be the key. When you look in the mirror, who do you see? Are you becoming the you want to be?
The idea of forgiving yourself moment to moment is a really, really pretty one. You don't have to stick to the person that was. You can be somebody new.
I didn't hear all of it, but the part in the beginning when you talked about, do you see an opponent? I've lived that way towards myself for probably most of my life. It's a hard way to live.
What for you made it so hard?
It literally was a constant battle. A battle of self.
I think looking in the mirror and finding or realizing things or remembering things or knowing things that you see in your past that have been positive and good can help in increasing love of yourself, of love for who you are, in being able to discover and know and love you when you go through those experiences, and maybe both hard and good experiences build that. Yeah.
I can remember being so embarrassed that Dad had to see me because I had gained weight. I was so afraid of that. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, yuck, like, ew. Like, I couldn't look at myself and appreciate myself. And it's so interesting because I look back at pictures and I think, dang, I wasn't even heavy. And, in some of those pictures. And I spent so much time wasting time hiding or not being proud of myself because of what I thought I had become in my body or, what I didn't think was so perfect. And I now feel like I can, over the last years, I can stand and look at myself saggy and old, but I can stand and say, like naked in front of a mirror and go, okay, I'm not so bad. A little wrinkly here or flabby there, but it's not so bad.
Yeah.
I've learned to really actually stand and look at myself. And that was something really hard to do. And I wish I wouldn't have wasted so much time thinking I wasn't good enough looking in that mirror.
I love hearing everybody's writing and just getting to know people in a way that I would have never been able to get to know somebody without you writing a poem like that. It's just cool.
Well, and I appreciate you being open about writing about that, because that's an interesting thing to stand and look in the mirror.
Personally, whenever I think about the self-hate or something, I feel almost dramatic. and that it's like silly. But I had a recent realization about how paralyzing it is to like hate yourself, I guess, or hate how you look. It's not, doesn't give you the motivation to fix it.
Right.
It just like makes you eat more or makes you go eat more junk and just lay around more because there's no point.
Right.
Instead of wanting to heal yourself.
Yeah, it's the self-talk, self-image, whatever it is that we beat ourselves up over. You know, and it sometimes it's circumstance, sometimes it's health, sometimes it's choice. Lots of different things create how we come to be at a certain moment. And yeah, it's a very enlightening thing to be able to look in the mirror and say, oh, all right, good morning. Hello. Instead of you ugly swamp witch, you know.
That's harsh.
We're soundbiting that.
That's really hard.
I've done that before.
Yeah,
Where you're
I've
just
heard
like,
you do that before.
The crazy thing about most humans is most humans would never, maybe you guys already said this, but most humans would never walk up to a stranger on the corner and treat them anywhere close to the way we treat ourselves.
yeah.
But why is it that we treat the people we know the best often
The worst.
the worst?
That's a good question.
Along with ourselves.
It's a good,
Sometimes.
a very good
To
question.
me, it's like the more authentic you become with people, the worse you treat them because that's probably who you are at your core more than you think.
I don't know if I look back and I definitely treated my family pretty poorly, my extended family. And I don't think it was authenticity. I think it was emotional immaturity. I think the more authentic I become, I treat people just that word more authentically.
Can you be authentic in one way during one part of your life and authentic in one way
Yeah.
at a different part, like at a different part of your life?
Sure. Yeah, that's why you couldn't.
Well, I'm also thinking, like, that makes me think about when you're a teenager. You don't necessarily treat everyone well all the time because your brain and your thoughts are crazy everywhere, and your hormones, and so I think seeing that, like from what you were saying. Now I've like lost where I was gonna go.
It's the worst.
Teenagers don't treat family nice.
Or maybe just peers nice. I mean, other kids.
Well, usually like for our kids, people would say, "Oh, your kids are the most well-behaved, sweet kids," and then I'm like, "Well, you don't see them behind our door." Sometimes because like they just
everybody
are able to be themselves, but they might not be able to express themselves or have an emotion.
Emotional maturity.
Yeah, to figure out what they're feeling, so then they can not just lash out at other people. That's where I was gonna go.
I just had a weird thought. I do think it's almost important for teenagers to be able to do that.
Do what specifically?
Like, lash out and be themselves in that way and, like, set almost boundaries or, like, set, I don't know, like, speak their mind.
They're trying to define self.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you look at me as a teenager, as my mom would say, I was perfect. And I was a very good teenager, but then later, like, I realized I was being treated poorly, and I was just very obedient, and then I didn't know how to, like, protect myself or stand up for myself or stuff. So, like, yeah, I was just thinking about that.
That's a good point.
Well, and I think that goes to like learning how to self-regulate your emotions. And if you don't have the chance to, then you don't know how. And I kind of lived similarly growing up. I didn't cause a lot of riff with my family until I met Jeff.
Same.
And the riff came.
Then the challenges came. But even then, I wasn't.
You were not
I
bad.
was not a bad teenager. I
No.
just was trying to figure out how to
Move forward.
find myself. So,
Yep.
but learning to self-regulate those emotions it's a real struggle sometimes.
It's hard as a grown-up.
I agree, Mom.
It is. We have to self-regulate often.
All the time.
I don't like the word regulate with emotions.
Okay.
You don't?
No.
What's
Why?
a better word?
I don't know what a better word is. This idea of regulate, to me, it connotes an idea of being able to control your emotions, and I think that's unhelpful.
Connote?
Connotate.
Yeah.
Did you say connote?
Yeah.
Ah.
Peyton.
Oh, that was so cute.
All right, I have 2 poems. The first one is called Can You Hold It? Authentic action, a moral I can hold high, impossible interactions, too lofty to just know why. Let me restart. Authentic action, a moral I can hold high, impossible interactions, too lofty to know just why. To say hello again, a moral you'll surely let by, then maybe I'll just let go, my friend, of everything I know and die. I can believe in trivialities to make sure that no flies land on their realities or the castles of endless eyes. There is someone real in there, someone worth showing out here. You are worth knowing. Please share.
I like your words of trivialities
Trivialities.
that you should share. Is that what you said? Something like that? That you shouldn't hide or what did you say?
I think you went from the middle to the end.
Yeah, you did.
And just like, just took all of it out. Just like one word in the middle and then one word at the end.
Just that part with triviality.
I said, I can believe in trivialities to make sure that no flies land on their realities or the castles of endless eyes.
I felt like that was an interesting statement because is that to you when you wrote that, was that meaning like you hide behind your truth so you don't hurt anyone else? Or is that you don't share your true self with someone?
I was saying that people want you to act in the ways they've been taught to act.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying those ways of acting, the ways they've been taught to act are trivialities instead of authentic actions.
Okay.
It made me think about my personal experience in a religious system and how I lived so much of my life trying to be something that I thought someone else would accept. Step into that moral code or that conduct in the hopes that I would be accepted, taken in, and I feel like that was it took a lot of time and a lot of energy in building something else, not myself.
Yeah. You were willing to throw away your authentic self for the sake of the group.
Even strangle self. And I can't it's a hard
thing to unravel because I think self-discipline is a good idea. It's not a bad idea. But maybe when it's coupled with someone else's box, it's not really mine, I'm trying to fit into something else. Maybe that's when it becomes hurtful.
Yeah. And all these boxes, they kind of tell you to like, that you have to fit in my box.
Right.
When you could be building your own box of what was the phrase you said? Of self-discipline.
I liked your idea of awareness of the struggle between acting in a way that you think that they would want you to act like, and finding your authentic self, to where when you realize that you don't need that triviality from others around you, that you can be excited to show your authentic self
Yeah.
to the world.
Yeah.
I think that's how you ended it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, read the last part.
There is someone real in there, someone worth showing out here. You are worth knowing. Please share.
Yeah, I love that. In that
Because
right.
everybody's worth knowing,
Yep.
but we often think we're not.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's very strange. It's like beaten out of us that we all have to act like an American would act, or like a Christian would act, or
And
like
how,
whatever.
And how about just
Put in that
Being
acting?
a person.
How
just
about
like
acting
a
just
person.
like a human being?
Yeah.
Just like somebody
Would act,
kind
Yeah, kind.
or
thoughtful,
thoughtful,
or
whatever it
compassionate.
is that you
Whatever it is.
you know, it doesn't have to be defined by something. I think, and I think that's the problem is we spend so much time being in a box or
Yeah.
being put in a box or putting ourselves in a box.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that start from such a young age. Like in a family structure, you kind of think you have to act like a brother or a sister or a father or a mother.
Well, I think that's the saddest thing. I don't know. In our family, I feel like we've moved so far apart from each other and you guys as siblings that there is a loss of connection and almost people stepping away and saying, I'm just done.
Yeah,
I don't want a connection anymore.
yeah,
And because there's so much hurt involved and there doesn't seem to be an understanding of how to fix that.
I don't think there's a want to fix it. To me, it's less like connection grew further apart and there wasn't true connection there ever, and now there's an acknowledgement of that fact.
And if there can be a disconnect, there can be a reconnect.
I think there certainly
There
was.
really can.
Because, you know, for you guys to say, oh, there really wasn't anything, there certainly was. Dad and I worked really hard to have our family be connected.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens as everybody gets older, we can't stop everybody's opinions,
Yeah,
everybody's differences, everybody's things.
yeah. But maybe the thing you thought you built, maybe it just wasn't as strong as you thought it was. Or
I thought we were different
maybe it didn't
than
have
other
a
families.
roof or
Yeah.
whatever.
I thought we were different. I thought we'd always be connected, even if there was differences, you know. And I think there's just a giving up of things now. I think, but I could be wrong. I'm not in everybody's head.
And
Well,
you can't be.
if hope exists, which I believe it does, then our family can be reconnected in a new way.
I don't know.
In a new way.
I don't know.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. All right. Should we wait for Jeff or no? Okay.
I mean,
Is he putting Augie down?
yeah,
Okay.
should be here soon.
Okay. This is called Anxious Traveler. My smile is slowly leaving through constant noise, honking, yelling, and thinking. Before it started to fade, the muscles needed to pull off such an act seemed trivial. Now they are consuming, taking everything left. I'll pull one together. What am I without my smile? My will has fought for a spot. That spot might seem so small, only a smile after all. But if I can't, I'll be lost for long. Circling the sun, trying to right a wrong. Dancing for the moon, trying to write a song. consumed by my lack of a smile. I'll stay around for a while. Only part of me manifesting and never long lasting. I'll keep fighting for a smile, a hope in total denial. I've sat afraid in futures played. I've been alone since my first day. I've always wanted to smile. Please help me stay a while.
I hear a lot of longing for that smile, or for that smile to be okay. I that's what I felt. It was just a lot of longing in maintaining or keeping that smile.
Yeah.
What it made me think of is like an event, or maybe something where everyone's around, and so you're like smiling and happy and you're putting on this energy that everything's okay, and everyone leaves, or you go home and you're like exhausted and you can't find that smile, and you're so alone and no one knows the aloneness that you feel. Mm-hmm. And you don't think you'll ever smile again. Like, it's dark. Like, that's what I like. I don't know. That's how I took that, from being way up here to way down here in a day.
Yeah, as a kid, I don't think kids really think about smiling, but as you get older, I think it gets to be more of a conscious decision, more of a, I have to do this. And
that is so interesting that you say that. It just jogged a memory of mine when I was an adolescent teenager. I remember, and I used to write down goals every year that I wanted to try to accomplish, to be better, to be a better person. And I remember specifically one of those goals was just smile. Just smile. And remember to smile.
What age would you say?
12, 13, 14. Yeah. And I think that, now that I think about it, I think that came from my mom. You know, whether she said, Jeff, you have a beautiful smile, or you're outgoing and friendly, just smile.
Yeah.
I think that it came from Grandpa. Yeah. But it's interesting. I think there's so much that can generate positivity in just smiling at another human being.
Yeah, it's such a small action.
It's such a small act.
You don't know what you can do to a person and how you can change their day by a smile.
Just
Or a
a
hello. That's another one.
Just a smile.
And just a reckoning.
A reckoning.
Yeah.
Dang.
I mean, I have some thoughts about what you were meaning, but I was just wondering what sparked that idea for you, and what you wanted to say.
I was at a wedding, and I was trying to be happy, and it was interesting that I was trying to be happy, that I had to think about smiling, and I was just becoming aware of choosing to smile rather than just it happening through emotion or the moment. Or
do you feel a difference between just naturally smiling, just spontaneously, and then having to think about it, that I need to smile, I need to show others that I'm happy? Can you feel a difference there in those two types of...
Yeah, I think for myself, I can definitely feel a difference.
I think the more I lived my life thinking that, okay, I just need to show a smile, or to make other people feel comfortable, and I don't necessarily think that it's helpful for me to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe, but I think being authentic and showing true emotion is more helpful in my emotional growth than faking it.
Well, and to that point, you said you never know what will happen if you smile at someone or say hello. And the more that I live, for me personally, I would much rather have someone show up authentically. I don't care if that's anger. I don't care if that's sadness. I don't care what that authenticness is. I would much rather have someone show up in my space authentic than put a smile on and try to manipulate my emotions.
Yeah. I think for me, it comes down to like, is smiling a natural human behavior or is it an instilled behavior? Just like we were talking about earlier with
Envy.
envy.
I think it can be, right? There are times where, like when you and I were hunting bunnies, I had a very natural, authentic, spontaneous
Yeah.
smile sometimes.
I'm not sure why hunting bunnies would make
It makes
anyone
sense.
smile.
We didn't actually get any mice.
a little boy kind of
Hunting.
joy, right?
Or
Like
it-
just like I'm
Or
Just
just being
seems
being
very
out in the
sad, like you
mountains
should
in the
cry
snow.
if you
I
hunt a
mean,
bunny.
I think that what you said about when you come across, you're walking into Lee's grocery store and someone's coming out and you smile at them, that can be a positive effect on their day
Well,
It
from
can.
that
they-
smile.
yeah.
can.
I mean, we
And
don't
that's
know.
authentic.
We don't
It
know.
also
but-
it also might irritate someone.
It
Or
could.
freak somebody out.
Or freak
It
someone
could.
out. To
It
that
could.
point, my sister-in-law served a mission in Russia. When I take pictures with my wife's family, I don't smile.
Yeah.
It's just a thing I do.
Yeah. 'Cause you're-
They're very smiley. I don't smile.
Yeah.
So when she would show pictures to the Russian people, they would all point to me and say, "He's Russian," because I wasn't smiling.
Because you were smiling.
We did not raise you Russian.
I didn't know that Russians
What?
don't smile.
What? What was that
I
comment?
don't know.
I didn't know that Russians didn't
She
smile.
said she's saying that she raised you better than
Well,
that.
there.
You
So
need to
there.
smile.
There we go.
Yeah, she was. You're exactly right.
Oh.
She.
Well, not really, but I didn't.
There are many countries in Eastern Europe and into Asia that if you smile in public, they think you're a fool.
Mm-hmm.
They think there's something wrong with you.
That makes sense.
So
You
you have a
don't
mental
share
issue.
that with someone unless you know them intimately.
Yeah. That makes total sense. To what you were saying about the point of my poem, I think, well, I've been in places in my life recently where even authentically smiling in a moment where like hunting bunnies or fishing or anything is a chore. It's like, I want to so bad, but it's just not happening. And so the question of my poem was, what am I without a smile? What are you without it? What are you without an authentic
Well, then you
piece
might
of
be
yourself?
sad. You might be lonely.
So 150 years ago,
Oh,
when a family had their picture taken,
nobody smiled. They all
because
looked
they
miserable.
had to
They
be
had to sit
still.
still.
They had to be really still for that camera.
And
Yeah,
they-
and
no,
it was like 30
for-
seconds,
Yeah.
45 seconds,
No,
or
it
a
was
minute.
like 10 minutes
No,
or
it was
15 minutes. They had to
long.
sit
It was
there.
long.
They had to get it ready and do everything. I know that.
You're right.
They did. They had to get ready.
Just looking us out.
It's really true. It took a while.
Did your dad tell
I
you
know
that?
it took a while. 10, 15 minutes
That's a
is a lot
long
different.
No,
time.
I think it did. I
To
think
Actually,
it
it
did.
took longer.
It
I think
did.
It was
I was going to
in
say
the
like
hour
20
range.
minutes.
I think it was in the hour range.
I remember hearing something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was just something I've heard over time that I do believe that to be true.
FYI.
You know, fun fact, people. Are you looking?
Yep, he's looking it up.
I'll announce it
Yeah.
when I find it.
All right. I mean, there was a lot of ways you could take that poem that you did.
It was good.
Both.
Alright.
I like them both.
Abby, you're up.
I like your pink sweatshirt.
Thank you.
I like pink.
Some of the first photographs ever taken in 1826 took around 8 hours of exposure time.
Yeah, that was-
Hours.
I didn't even think that long ago.
That was the first, though. I'm
Yeah.
sure they got better.
But
Very-
that's why
very
they didn't.
quickly.
But we know they got better.
Yeah.
Nobody would have ever sat.
So in 1880, exposure time for daguerreotypes was originally anywhere from 5 minutes to a half an hour.
Okay, well, nobody even wants to do my hand.
You should high five Jeff.
What? No, it was me and you.
Yeah, but you
We
disagree
said
with
it.
him.
Why would you high five him then?
Yeah, so we would have high five. Peyton, get with the program.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
That's like saying, Peyton, why don't you smile more?
Smile.
Okay.
You want his gum? Her gum.
Put it underneath the chair.
Oh, do not throw it.
Put on your pinky.
Just put it on the chair.
My water bottle's right underneath your
Oh, that's such a nice husband to do. So.
Can't
Right?
believe you touched her gum.
Ew.
Can't believe it.
Oh my goodness.
Saliva spit sharing.
Yeah, never happens. Okay, mine is called Nature's Medicine. Okay. Slowing down becomes mandatory. Deep breaths become necessary. Scanning the room, there is a cosmic glow. Attention is scattered, bouncing from light to light. Unseen auras of greens, blues, and reds. Bravery and determination was present, and safety was key. Questioning gave clues that fed to the delusion. Who are you really? Are you who I think you are? Where did they go? Waves of reality came and went. Portals opened that showed the past. Connections of ancestry and lifetimes were opened. Reunited again, tranquility was restored. Twisted and entwined, we laid there endlessly. The end.
I love the way you end.
I just saw a short, so take it for what it is. Some person talking, right? But according to this person, they had lymphoma. Doctors wanted them to do chemo and all that stuff. They didn't want to do that. They had read some research about how being in wilderness can improve your immune system up to 200%.
Oh,
So they started spending, it was like an hour or 2 hours every week in the woods, and doesn't have lymphoma anymore.
oh my gosh. Well, they say that like I love that. I love just the thought of what you're saying. If you're just, I think you said something about laying down. Did you say laying down?
Intertwined.
Intertwined.
Okay.
Intertwined.
But then you were, like breathing. And I think sometimes we miss so much because of the chaos, scrolling on our phones, whatever it is that we've got in our heads going, everything's like this. And I feel like we miss not slowing down, not just taking the deep breath and listening or just being, because most of us don't do that every day. And I like the picture of that thought of just breathing.
You just made me think of a crazy thought about how far away are we from the first human that will never touch the ground.
What?
And
Everything will be
floating?
Will be
Man-made.
man-made. Everything that a person
Instead of
touches
it-
will be completely
What?
man-made.
It's like another question is how far away before the first human looks up and never sees the stars or the light pollution.
yeah.
What? Like, I don't understand that. I mean, because there's just no way to see it anymore because it's just...
No, I mean, think about the evolution of people in society. As we've gotten, as we've progressed more, what's happened to our neighborhoods or our cities? How much nature is involved?
Right, we're losing the nature.
So
I bet there are people alive that have been born in a big city that
And never been
literally
to the-
haven't seen the stars. With the
Or-
exception of like Venus, maybe, that's really dull.
Yeah. The
And-
Will there be groups of people that will be like snobs? They will teach their kids not to go out into nature, not to touch grass, not to do any of that.
Well, to
To
my
create philosophies around it.
Wow.
part of what I wrote was about buying white bread.
Mm.
So white bread was marketed in the 50s as a status symbol. If you could buy bread, your family was better than someone who had to make their bread.
Interesting.
So yeah, to that idea.
Now it's the opposite. Now it's if you make your own bread, you're even cooler. Like that's even more special. You're more smart.
Well, there was, this is back in the early 80s when I lived in France, in Clermont-Ferrand. There was a city within the city. It was called the Villeneuve, the new city. And it was 100,000 people that lived in these 15 to 20 story apartment buildings. And they were all interconnected.
Were they circular?
They kind of wound like an S or like a snake, and there was 100,000 people in them. And
Can you imagine?
I thought some of these people never get out of this concrete city of apartments.
So interesting.
I mean, 100,000 people in apartments. Think
Well,
about
that's
it.
Cache
It makes me
Valley.
wonder if there's been somebody who lived their entire life.
Entire life
through that.
never went out past those apartments. Those apartments had stores in the bottom, and when we would walk underneath the gap of these apartments, we'd have to be careful because people would throw items and junk out of a 15-story window. You know,
Jeez.
shopping carts, refrigerators. It would kill you.
Yeah.
And
Did they ever kill anybody while you were
I
there?
think people were injured. I don't know about anybody dying, but the thought that you could have 100,000 people in this concrete city of apartments.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Crazy.
What sparked this idea for you?
That's your own interpretation.
Were you walking up in the woods, in the mountains, in the park?
Sure.
Okay. By the river?
Maybe.
She pleads the fifth.
I can tell you later.
Okay.
It's another swapping spit story. All right,
Who's next?
Dad, you're up.
Ooh,
I see the
holy
pattern.
potato.
I see the pattern, Jeff.
Do you?
Uh-huh. The husband and wife of each couple in sequence.
Oh, I didn't even catch that pattern. I was like, what?
What pattern?
Was there a pattern? There was no pattern. I don't think so. Does that mean I'm last? Holy moly. Oh boy, he's got his potato.
So I thought I would start with this, and this came from watching Mom and Amelie and Abby over all the meals that we've had preparing potatoes for our meals, for our dinner. So just a little trivia information on potatoes. So Solonium tuberosum, that's the name of this. And a potato plant is a member of the nightshade family. Nightshade. And also part of the nightshade family are tomatoes, tomatoes and eggplants. I didn't realize that. The potato is native to the Andes Mountains of South America. And the potato is the fourth biggest food produced in the world. Do we know what the first, second, and third is?
McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Close.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
No.
No. No.
No.
What did you say?
No.
No. So corn, wheat, and rice,
Okay.
and potatoes. Okay. All right.
Hey, can I share a fun fact about that potato?
Yes.
That potato traveled from Utah to Oregon and from Oregon back this weekend. No.
Well, it's probably even traveled longer.
Yeah.
Right,
Probably
but
somewhere
this
before that
weekend
also.
or starting Wednesday, I brought that to cook with, and somehow it didn't get cooked.
Well, I wanted to give you a little information about the standard potato, and that's part of that is what I have written about. So the title of this is Through the Eyes of a Potato. Mr. Potato wasn't so sure. It had been quite a journey as he remembered his tuber beginnings. The farmer's calloused hands dug blindly through the rich, nutrient-filled soil, searching. His mother, Selenium, on the verge of tuber birth, shuddered lightly in the warm breeze in anticipation. The olive-green compound leaves brushed softly along the side of his sunburned neck, and a soft yellow anther-centered light violet starflower tickled his nose. Finally, after passing a moist, wiggling invertebrate, his hands settled on and encompassed this round, buried Yukon-ness and pulled him gently but firmly from his mother's womb. A light snapped as he was disconnected from his mother's earthy root, and then his 12 eyes seemed blinded one by one by the bright Idaho spud sun as the farmer wiped the loose dirt from him and out of each of his 12 eyes and threw him into a coarse fabric gunny sack. That's the last thing he remembered until now. He had heard a few grumblings from his nightshade family nestled around him, but his 12 eyes remained silent until light flooded in on them. A hand grabbed his roundness and sat him on the kitchen counter. "Mr. Potato," she observed, thoroughly admiring each of his 12 fertile eyes, "I'm going to call you Spud." "Hooray!" 3 of his eyes chorused jubilantly together as they watched a woman peeling a dozen carrots. "We're destined and privileged to be part of this family's glorious meal," they continued excitedly. Spud smiled unsurely. He still wasn't convinced. On the other side of him was a cutting board full of diced white onions. "Maybe, just maybe, my eyes are right. My life's purpose is in being a key part of this wonderful meal." He noticed a man standing over the kitchen sink. The water was running. He was crying giant tears. "Oh," 2 of the eyes sighed sadly. "Why is he so unhappy?" one said. "He probably lost someone dear to him," said the other eye. Click, click, click. Spud's attention turned towards the sound on the stove. "Medium click low," a woman screamed out of nowhere. Spud's 12 eyes all blinked in shocked starchiness. "Go turn that down to low and do not lift the lid. It won't cook right," she continued fiercely. The man, with tears flowing down his face, slowly turned and dejectedly walked over to the stove and carefully turned the burner knob down to low. He stared at the clicking lid, mesmerized. Click, click, click. It took every ounce of his living will to turn away from the alluring lid. Spud and his blind eye he was sitting on both agreed simultaneously on their obvious life's mission of golden Yukon goodness, and could only imagine themselves being softly chewed and greedily swallowed as human eyes fluttered gratefully and human voices yummed favorably. The eye on top of Spud could only see a little koala bear hugging a khaki green square chandelier with candlelights glowing, and wondered if when the little bear got too hot, would he let go to surely fall to his death on the stone island below. "Oh my," one of Spud's eyes exclaimed in fear as it found itself potato face to black monster face, inches from certain white-fanged death from this ravenous beast. "Sadie, get down!" a woman scolded as the dog slinked guiltily away, out of Spud's eyes' line of sight. "Whew, that was close," she blinked in relief. A tiny tow-haired elf, or at least that's what these two eyes thought, was wandering around the kitchen island searching, looking for something. What is he looking for? He must be looking for his mother, they asked each other, and Winnie raised his arms, reaching up towards the sky, and left their potatoes view. "Yes, I'm sure he found her," they said assumingly, and with smiling eyes blinked positively at each other. A wheezy, choking cough alerted two of Spud's eyes to rest on a beautiful woman sitting on a couch, resting. And yes, by the way, it's the same charming woman who yelled at that poor, pitiful, crying man. "I hope she's okay," one eye said worriedly to the other. "She might receive some relief if she would only stop smoking." The other offered simply. Suddenly, Spud was lifted. A shining knife shimmered. "It's time," he said excitedly to his 12 eagerly observant eyes. "We, now, will fulfill our life's mission." He was as sure as ever. All 12 eyes closed in eager anticipation. Spud bowed his tuber head in reverent respect. And the knife began its preparations. A carefully designed cut here, a thoughtfully sliced part there. 12 eyes prepared for Spud's greatest design and raison d'etre. And as he and his 12 eyes were being planted back into the dark, rich soil, mounds of Mother Earth, Spud realized they had perceived every moment, not in a completely wrong way, but in an incomplete way, because he understood in this moment, as the soil's nightshade gently covered him and his 12 unseeing eyes, that onions also create human tears, and titanium pans make strange clicking noises, and sometimes humans just can't help themselves. Stuffed koala bears aren't alive, and modern candlelight bulbs don't get too hot, and that a black and white monstrous hairy beast would be smelling and wanting a tasty chicken bucket full of scraps and not a dull Yukon potato. And surely a cute little baby boy who has a beautiful, attentive, loving mother might, once in a while, be searching for and finding his gray-haired, smiling papa. And realizing also that wheezing and coughing from that lady might come from having a diaphragmatic hernia.
Thank you.
She sure didn't smell like cigarette smoke, Spud reflected thoughtfully. And lastly, he realized before falling off into his hibernating rest that being enjoyed as a family's meal was a purposeful mission, but regenerating and growing and living again was going to be his ultimate nirvana.
Can we only find truth if we sit quietly in darkness?
No.
No.
I like the story of going through this family's space and then this shift of perception. It was fun.
I didn't know potatoes have 12 eyes.
This one does.
Are you just counted
I
them?
counted every eye.
I thought
On
maybe
this
every
potato.
potato had 12 eyes now.
And like each one of us are extremely unique. Every potato is extremely unique.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I was glad to be known as the woman that was coughing with smoke. And or not smoky. I don't know. It's funny the way you put it together. It's very, very cute, honey. Your journey through cooking and just the adventure.
It's a fun way to think about things that we usually don't think about.
We all of us do this, and probably every human being on the planet does it, is we see something happening in our moment and we automatically make a decision on what the reality of that is. And in the next moment, we find out that it was something totally different.
We don't always,
Totally
though.
different.
And it is interesting when we take time to figure out maybe seeing something different than we thought.
I think there's some real benefit in anthropomorphizing objects.
What? Say that word again?
Anthropomorphizing.
Giving them human characteristics.
Giving a potato
I have never
characteristics.
ever heard that
You
word.
just did.
Anthropomorphizing.
Anthropomorphizing.
Wait, I can't
Oh,
do
you
it.
messed it up. It's the curse.
Anthropomorphizing.
That's all right.
I've never, ever heard that word.
You just
Ever.
did.
I think there's a lot of benefit in doing that is kind of unseen, goes untouched. But if you haven't, write a story about just an object that has no life to it. And it, from my personal experiences, shed some light where maybe I was blind before.
That's cool.
I thought your description of yourself was comical. I can't even
The crying
count.
man.
I can't even count how many times you have gone over to that stove and
And
lifted
open
the
that lid.
I don't find it very difficult for me personally to make fun of myself.
At all?
No. For most things. I'm sure there's some things that I don't, but sometimes when I'm thinking about ways that I have lived and gone through life and done certain routines and things that are just kind of odd, it's for me it's fun to make fun of things that I've done that are just odd, that others may think, why does he do that? It's so stupid. Why does he lift the lid up? It ruins
Well,
it.
it is not. It's medium click low. Don't open lid.
I know.
That's the rhyme. That's it. That's exactly it.
Medium
Don't
level.
open lid.
Don't open lid.
Medium click low. Don't open lid.
Stay with me, guys.
Right?
No, don't open that.
Low and lid rhyme.
I think I've had similar experiences in terms of when I am doing something odd or doing something a little silly. It's pretty easy for me to have a light heart around that. If I'm doing something sincerely and someone interprets it through a lighthearted lens, that is often harder for me to
Interesting.
Me too.
You mean you get mad?
sometimes.
Yes, he does.
I think a more appropriate term would be hurt or misunderstood.
I tend to
Put in a
laugh
box.
You do that to me all the time. That's a daily occurrence.
Don't have that lid.
I'm terribly sorry.
Like that. That was a perfect example. I'm terribly sorry about that.
It doesn't mean when I make fun of that I don't deserve it.
Oh, there's many times you
Exactly.
deserve it.
And I am totally aware of that.
But there's many times you don't. Sometimes I'm just a grumpy woman.
Most of the time I deserve it.
I was going to say most of the time you are a grumpy woman.
No.
I liked that story, honey. I liked all the... It was fun. Visually, that actually could be a little book. I could just see Sadie jumping up and him, cutting the old man cutting the onions.
Yeah,
with
a book teaching children about perception. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, and then the potatoes growing and you know, them going out and picking them. Like
Sitting
it
in
was
darkness to find truth.
True.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mom. You're up.
True.
I didn't comment on your depiction of the hippo that lives around here was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Really good.
And her nose was locked into that chicken bucket behind Spud.
Mm.
But
Anything that smells, Sadie's on it.
yeah, Tato. Yeah.
Anything she can fit in her mouth.
That's true.
It's true.
Small children, infants.
All
I think
right.
we shouldn't matter scared to come over.
They are scared. Sorry.
They're afraid they're going to lose one of their children.
No.
Sadie.
All right. This was quite the writing event.
It's a good thing we're ending with you.
I was we were busy on this, or, visiting or watching Where Comes the Heart or the news or something, and
Or cooking. You were
cooking. Yeah, I did cook. Actually, brought my pots and pans, medium click, low, close the lid. No,
Keep the lid closed.
now I can't even do it.
Keep the lid closed.
Keep the lip. Anyways, I was having a really hard time coming up with a thought. I kept thinking of taking care of older people. I mean, Dad and I are getting older, but older than us. And I thought, I don't really want to write about taking care of older people. Not right now. Didn't seem to want to go there. So I don't know. I didn't get anything in my head. And then last night I told Dad I'm going to go to bed and write. And him and Melanie were out watching the TV. And I got in bed and then I wrote down a few words, threw the notepad down, and I was out. So this morning driving in the car, this is what we got. So, are you ready? Freddie? No.
Wow.
That's right.
All right. What should I write? We are driving in the light. Did I just see a duck? Snow, slush, water, and muck. Is that all I see in front of me? I should close my eyes so Jeff can drive. Then in my dreams, I might thrive.
That's one of my favorite lines you've ever written, actually. I should close my eyes so Jeff could drive. There's so much truth.
Yeah.
And there's so much experience in that line. It would take volumes to fill up. You could fill up volumes with the experiences in that line.
Great. So would you like me to give you a little background on that?
Like it or not, here it comes.
Yeah, no. Just as we were driving, so I'd written the only thing I had actually written was, basically, what should I write? We are driving. And then it was just something else. I didn't quite have it together like that. But it was funny as I was writing it, I said, do you want to hear what I have? And I kind of shared it with Dad. We were driving through snow and ice and muck, and I get nervous driving in the car. And so I kept closing my eyes, and then it came to me that it was like, seriously, if I could go to sleep, then I wouldn't even think about what he's doing. And so I thought, oh, then I might dream, and that's when I would thrive. That's how that came about in my head, and it was like so true because it's true.
It makes me think of a client just told me a story this week of they have a coworker who's quite the anxious person, and everybody gets really stressed out because this coworker is so anxious and is always expressing this anxiety one way or the other. And they were on a work trip, and they all convinced this woman to go get Xanax from her doctor to just hold on the flight. So she never took it. She just held it. And it helped with her anxiety.
That's awesome.
Just
Is that like a placebo?
Yeah,
like
that's
a
100%.
like a physical placebo?
Yeah.
She never took it. She just
Yeah,
held
held
it.
it.
She knew it was there, and it was helpful.
Well, and you know, wasn't that interesting? Well, and the other funny thing about this is the day before, I was like, Dad, there's a duck. Can a duck be alone? And it was freezing, like 0 degrees out. And this little duck was just flying up. And I was like, why is that duck alone? I don't understand. Why is it alone?
You never think ducks ever are
No,
alone?
so Dad's like, well, maybe his partner died, or maybe his thing. We went through this whole thing with a duck.
They
so,
do partner up for life.
Yeah.
If they partner up.
Yeah, if. Yeah.
I mean,
Most of
sometimes
them
they
do.
go.
Natural selection.
Wow.
Some ducks lose.
Yeah.
I think that was really cool that you had this thought that if you could not be around my driving and have that anxiety, that you would thrive.
Mm,
Yeah.
100%, because I thought my dreams
Yeah.
would take me down a different course.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
As opposed to an
I was-
anxiety-induced course.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm like, you're driving too close to that truck. Oh, wait, that slush is a lot there. Ooh, the car is pulling in that direction. Ooh.
Like I said, volume.
Right. No.
Like every
Every time
mile.
you step in the car.
No, we only went 800 miles. It was every mile.
That's not true.
That's so funny.
That's not true.
And, okay, I'm sorry. Every other mile.
No. Our one drive was clear.
Yes.
And
you
I
were
drove.
thriving.
And I was
Yes,
driving.
You were thriving.
I was
and
driving
you were in control.
and I was driving.
And you were in control. That makes all the
Yeah,
difference.
because let me share this
If
again,
you could-
people.
if
I'm
you
gonna
could only if you could only fly the airplane, everything would be okay.
Right. This is the thing. I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
When you said the airplane, I just imagine Mom confidently flying an airplane with 100 people in it as she flies into a mountain. We're good, people.
I've got this.
That would be horrible. But no, when Dad drives, he tends to think, oh, this is fun. Let's sit by a truck, a big truck, as long as we can.
You haven't noticed, how long have you been married again?
41
And the
years.
big truck's right here, and he's like,
You haven't noticed that your
I'll put
husband...
it on cruise control right now and stay right here.
You haven't noticed that your husband does almost everything around you to induce some sort of reaction from you?
It's connecting.
She knows.
And I have driven our whole life together
Ugh.
probably 20 to 40,000 miles a year.
Let's not get cocky.
How many car accidents have you been in?
One.
That is not true.
You're a liar.
I should say one major one, and it was all my fault. When I ran the red car into the back. The airbag. So one accident that the airbag has been deployed.
On
I
you.
didn't ask that.
How many accidents?
Are you
I'm
a
pretty sure
politician?
there are chickens, deers, dogs.
Oh, yeah, Dad's been with you on a
No,
few.
I purposely drove through that flock of chickens.
Did you actually?
Yes.
What takes
And
over you?
I don't know. I'm just
No.
have this urge.
That's the
Is that why you
coma.
have chickens?
That's
Did
the
you call your
coma.
girl?
He has to be stuck with
Yeah,
chickens.
yeah.
One of the chickens' beaks went into the radiator.
Yeah, no. There was some bird that flew into
Yeah.
us.
That was a pheasant.
though. The
That was a
pheasant flew
pheasant.
into us, and then we get out, and it's still there, hanging. Whoa. It's still hanging in the
It
front
got caught in the bumper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that-
Beautiful rooster pheasant.
They're pretty.
That
Was
made
the
me think
excursion.
about our experience driving, and I'm pretty sure Jeff needs me to tell him when the light turns green.
Yes, I'm sure.
And when he's veering off the road,
Yes.
I have to take a deep breath so then he knows
Yes.
that he needs to.
No, the worst is when my wife startles and everything's fine, but it makes me want to jerk the wheel. Exactly.
Yeah.
What do I say to
Yeah.
you?
So when I do this,
Oh, there's a.
What
no,
do I
there's,
say?
stop. There's a camera. Stop.
It's okay. It's okay. Just leave it. It's great. It's great.
I am almost positive. I'm almost positive that my cause of death will be having a heart attack
Yeah.
when Mom scares me
When nothing
when I'm
happens.
driving.
Yeah. That's
Well,
so
let's
true.
hope not, because then we're both dead.
It would be
Yeah, let's
That's
hope
true.
not. Yeah.
That's true.
You should keep
Then
your
quit
gasps to
Then,
yourself.
then quit scaring me when I'm driving.
It is.
No.
It is actually
No.
scary.
It is.
No,
Because
no.
it's like something must
My
be wrong.
heart
Dad
stops.
goes like this.
My
This
heart
is-
stops.
This is Dad driving, just so everybody can know. My husband. He's got his bag of potato chips, his like dip, and he's like this with his knees. And the car goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, will you please just drive? And he's like, I have done this for 1,000 years.
Like I said, volumes.
Yeah,
All right.
and I'm like, ah! So, there we go.
Anybody have any other comments they want to make before we wrap it up? Anything that stood out to them?
Nope.
Made a lot of comments tonight.
Titles? Any title ideas?
The spud that wanted more. I don't know.
I have to look at my line. I guess it can be long, right?
It can be maybe like 5
Because
words.
in my dreams, I might thrive, or close my eyes so Jeff can drive.
That's actually fantastic. It's funny to me. I don't know if it'd be funny.
Anybody else? You
I don't
had
know if it's fitting for the episode.
you had 2 good ones. You had Juan Lee. What was your title?
Who am I?
Who am I?
Or
What was your title again?
Keeping up appearances.
Could name it Authenticity.
Authenticity. 12 Eyes of Authenticity.
We'll figure out something.
We will.
Sounds good.
Hallelujah.
We are grateful that you have joined us tonight and listened to us in our ramblings,
I was
and
just
our
saying,
writings,
Babble.
and our babblings.
Bless you.
This is one of the most incoherent endings we've ever had.
Always sneeze.
Yeah, she
Oh.
sneezed.
She more farted out of her mouth.
Morph farting?
That's what happens when you try to hold and sneeze.
You morph and
I didn't mean to say morph. I said more farted.
More.
It just
More
turned into morph.
Please share.
please.
If you've held out this long, we're grateful.
Yeah.
Like, give us a comment, and if you're feeling generous, throw a 5-star review our way. You might end up intertwined with some lover in the forest.
Ooh, wow. That would be
Nice.
fun.
Nice.